Hello, Scott. Welcome to Awaken Hidden Truth. How are
Hi,
you?
hi, Perry. I'm fine. And we were just talking about Perry and I about knowing versus faith, basically,
Mhm.
and what causes pain and suffering. Basically, that is fear of the present or the future that causes pain and suffering and disease because it's negative in nature. Fear, it's an artificial emotion. When people think it's real and they put their attention into it, or they've been tricked or suppressed or killed and put on a planet with no memory to compel people to do that, then they're adding their imagination and feeling towards fear of the present and the future. And that puts tension in the body and the nervous system. Joints swell, things ache, stuff like that. Disease comes from putting negative energy through your body to the degree that it lowers your immune system, and then cancer or something else can really take a bite out of you. Because it's the being running the body that keeps the energy flowing through it, that keeps it free of disease. If the Atma running the body is tricked into seeing and feeling things negatively around itself all the time, it's going to simply invite those things in without realizing. Because they aren't trained from birth on this planet about any of this. Not taught any of this at all. So why should people grow up as adults and know any better? We were talking about the difference between knowing and having confidence, direct knowing perception, and faith. Faith is a great place to start to get you moving in a certain direction, but faith is just belief that someone taught you from outside yourself in the world, who themselves are for the most part misdirected as well, and working with fear of the present and the future. So it's like the blind leading the blind. They mean well, but there has never been an instant on any world in all of creation where faith in something has solved a problem or changed a planet. All the religions on earth practiced for thousands, even millions of years going out in space, has never changed a planet. It hasn't changed this planet a bit in all this time because people are being deprived of knowing for themselves. And when a person knows for themselves without doubt or fear or speculation or theory, and they really know, it not only cannot be taken from them, but they will drop fear in any form like a lead brick and never pick it up again. Very important. If people want to recover who they are and help co-create changing and transforming this planet, then they actually have to know who they are. Not believe it, not just have faith that someone taught them to believe in something. Faith's a good place to start, but a terrible place to end up, because it leaves you with belief and you really don't know. And then you die, you go somewhere, you bring your fear of the future with you, and it creates the circumstances and beings you meet that put you right back here with no memory in another incarnation. Fear will do that. So we don't want to work with it at all, period.
Scott, and how about imagination and thinking? What are the difference between these two?
Well, thinking is people on earth, kind of sad in a way, but people on earth, including your most advanced PhD doctors, psychologists and psychiatrists, doctors and everything else, are brought up in a world, in school systems and governmental systems, by people who do not know themselves. They think they understand the mind, but they know that they do not. So oftentimes they'll find certain chemicals that can suppress symptoms like a neurotic behavior or a schizophrenic behavior or something. But they cure nothing. They get lucky sometimes, and a being will recover some suppressed memory that will set them free from the terrible effect it's having on their nervous system. All about fear and terror of the present and the future in every single instance. The problem is that the mind that people are trying to address helping is not the brain and the skull of a human body in a DNA structure. What people on earth don't know is that they are this spherical shaped energy that is not made of nuclear material. It's not DNA. And it's energy, but not as it's known on Earth yet. And it runs nervous systems and brains and bodies like this. But it isn't the body at all. The mind people have wisdom with when they grow up and get to be adult. What brings in this greater brilliance comes from a body they're running 4 dimensions up from here, called the mental plane. And it's made of a much finer molecular structure of matter. There is much greater freedom and capability in those bodies there, on those planes, on those planets. But they are not free. The mind is like comparing data. Having all the data in the universe to compare data to come up with the right answers doesn't always produce the correct decision about what should be done. The mind is a tool, like a machine. And we get our mental capability from a body we're running 4 dimensions up from Earth. We don't even get it from this you grow up with in going to school for a few years and you get a PhD about theory and you don't know anything for sure. What can you teach others except the same thing you were taught? If people understood that the mind was not in the brain of a human body, and the brain does not have the capability, actually doesn't have a motion picture camera in it and a projector on which you can see imaginative things. There's no function in the brain cells and nervous system that can do that. People just assume it does that. They don't know. They don't even know how to operate on a brain to any depth without killing you or damaging you, because they don't know how to get into it and work with it. That's not where the mind is. If you have a short circuit in the brain and you get like you have a stroke or something, you get a blood clot and that keeps the neurons from going through that can block you or keep you from moving your body and whatever. But that's not the brain. It's not the mind that's being affected. It's the body itself, the nervous system. The nervous system in the brain is being blocked. But if you take that out of the whole equation, just say there's no block in the brain. The mind is not coming from here. A person closes their eyes and imagines being at the beach. The eyes are off. The brain connected to the eyes are off. It's not seeing any light coming in here. So if you're imagining being on a beach with your physical eyes closed, who or what is seeing that beach? People will, out of their ignorance really, because they don't know, say, oh, well, it's just because the brain will make up things of beaches it's been to and just make something up. This is not true at all. The brain doesn't imagine anything. That's not what it's designed to do. The being that runs the body, which you have as a poster back there, it's spherically shaped and has actual structure. What we are comprised of as energy in the image of the source, the prime source of all life itself, is not in the image of a human body. A human being is not a human body. Human being or human woman can also be an Atma running a body that isn't even human. They got that all wrong. The first half of the word human on Earth, Hugh, man, could be Hugh, woman, Hugh, child, Hugh, animal, Hugh, anything. It is the first half of a word that describes how Atmas connect with the omnipresent field of force that people call dark matter in space, and it's much higher, finer energy as it goes up into the other dimensions. And that field of force, Atmas are capable of telepathically linking to it. Now, people on Earth have long been made to forget how that works. All they've got left is what? Intuition? Guessing? Maybe it's right, maybe it's not. Faith, let's go back to intelligence, or let's thought versus knowing. Is that what your question was? Thought versus?
Thinking and imagination.
Okay, so thinking is the use of a tool that is not your brain, it's not your body, it's part of what surrounds the Atma itself, spherical energy. It's part of the function of how it runs a body on another dimension. The mind is channeled through the energy that runs through the lower dimensions, down through these bodies to the astral emotional body where you get your emotions. And then that's channeled through the pineal gland into the brain and out through the body you have on Earth. But it doesn't originate in the brain or the body. If you disconnect an atma from this brain and this body, the body would simply stop working and die. A brain in between the ears of a human being does not run the body on automatic. It's not capable of running a body when no one's home. When a person goes to sleep at night, they go into the dream state, or what they call is called the trance state. It's not a hypnotic state. It's actually putting the body to sleep, doing it consciously as an atma, and then going out on a journey in the multiverse as this spherical form of energy that connect into this omnipresent field of hue and move anywhere it wants, not limited by time and space, the laws of physics, or the speed of light. Because this and that underlying energy field that supports all that molecular stuff is not nuclear in nature. It's not made of electrons and atoms and things. It's a field of energy that can suspend all that you see in space, galaxies. They look at this black void in space and they go, what is that black void? How come galaxies just float there? They don't know. That energy that they see as black, it appears black even on photographs because human eyes can only see a very small, narrow band of light frequency that exists, a very tiny. And the actual blackness they see with physical eyes is white light. It's a white, brilliant golden light supporting everything. It's not made of nuclear energy. So the stars in it, the billions of stars, you can see glittering in it. And it's that energy that supports the entire creation. It is not nuclear. There's never going to be any science in anywhere on any planet or scientist on any level that will ever find some kind of science or proof that you can manipulate matter with matter and get anywhere beyond just matter. There's no way to manipulate matter to change the way the universe works. And this is the science that people are going after, trying to find solutions to the puzzle of how to get around the multiverse faster than the speed of light. Cannot be discovered or applied properly unless you understand what the energies are above the physical universe that are not nuclear in nature. You have to know. So, thought comes from a aspect of your being that does not reside on the physical earth. If I don't say this way, I'm saying it this way telepathically because I know deep down people on earth, even though it's been terribly suppressed, understand this at a deep core level. It needs to be brought to the surface. They're not going to be taught it in any school on this planet because that kind of enlightened society does not exist on this world yet. People on earth who don't remember who they are, that isn't a body, that grow up here, I don't care if they're politicians or in the military or royal families or the rest of the mass of people, they're all in this together. None of them really remember very much about who they are that isn't physical. They want to, but they don't know how to do it. There's nobody even beginning to teach them to remember any of this on this earth. Go ahead and go on the internet, search for the next 10 years. You won't find it because that kind of awareness is out there among the stars. And as long as people are kept ignorant about the existence of life beyond this earth, they are not going to be privileged to take advantage of that kind of already well-mastered science and understanding that other beings are willing to share with us on this planet if we can be trusted with it. And right now we cannot be. People on earth can't even get along from one neighbor to the next, much less one country. And they're going to go out in space with adversarially, trying to struggle who gets the one-upsmanship in space. Is it Russia? Is it China? Is it the US? And they're going to take that nonsense they think incorrectly out into the stars somehow and go and mix it up with all kinds of aliens out there who have left that kind of silly behavior behind a long, 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 long time ago. When people are given disclosure here, you wanted to talk about that. It needs to come about on this planet in a way that is not destructive. No rioting in the streets, nobody being shot, nobody pointing fingers at everybody else, because everybody on this planet is misdirected and operating in subconsciously motivated fear of the future. And they don't realize that they are. They know something's wrong. Every one of them, even in politics. They can't quite put a finger on it because they don't remember. And they're afraid to remember. The fact is, they're going to need beings of very high vibrational level and intelligence, not from Earth, fellow human beings as well, to assist them when they're out of their bodies at night. Every time they go to sleep, they leave the body, and they're not aware of this. Bring back very little awareness to the physical body in the morning of what they've been doing all night. Bodies don't just go to sleep for 8 hours just automatically. People don't understand this on Earth. The being running the body is unconsciously putting it to sleep, causing the pineal gland, the center of the brain, to secrete serotonin, which makes melatonin, which creates a state in the physical body so it will work while you're gone. People do it every night like experts, and they haven't got a clue what's going on. And they're not trained from childhood to bring any of this back, or even that it's real. So why would they be able to use their higher faculties when they're dormant and they don't believe in them? You see. So people on Earth are going to need help, massive help, from beings from other worlds who are kind and evolved. They don't have warfare. They don't use money. There's this whole different thing going on out there than is going on this Earth. This world and its people, actually within their ignorance, are ready to step up to bat to play among the stars. They've been prepared for full disclosure. There are beings working with the classified people right now and certain hidden government people to get them to change and become aware, to get off their fear that they'll be killed by the public if they tell them the truth, because it isn't going to happen, not ever. We're all in this together. And the beings from other worlds understand that people on Earth are misdirected and living in fear. Fear is negative. It creates a trap, a bind. They want good for their family and they want terror of the future at the same, mixed. And that grounds their energy to this Earth, keeps them fixated in bodies so they don't know who they are. Every single being on this planet has the capability to remember under the right conditions, with the right people assisting them. Those people, for the most part, are not on this planet right now. And people on Earth are so closed down and so far away from remembering who they are as a being and not a body. They cannot help themselves out of this trap that they've created here, and that tyrants from other worlds helped create, that were stopped recently and moved off this world. So people have an opportunity to change for the first time here. All of this is history now. It's done. The past prophesied destructive Armageddon, blah, blah, blah for Earth was changed permanently and forever a few years ago, about 8.5 Earth years ago, out there amongst races and how they view this world, because they went through a change. Unexpectedly, it was, but they went through it so that they recognize now many of their fellow beings that were lost in history and battles and wars and things go out in the galaxy. They never knew where they went. Many of them are incarnating on this world with no memory today, which means people on Earth are all extraterrestrial and they don't even know it, because human beings did not evolve on planet Earth in the first place. How could it be any more clear than that in telling the truth to people? Human beings did not evolve on this planet ever. What does that mean? It means that human beings evolved far out in the galaxies and other worlds long ago in galactic history, and were brought here, one scenario or another, going back 65 million years to the end of the dinosaurs. Where's all that missing history? The Atma, unconscious as it is, running bodies on Earth, has that history stored in its structure. but it doesn't remember how to access it or which buttons to push or anything, and it's afraid to do it. People are afraid to get out of their body. I got to die and go to heaven. I can't know anything till I go to heaven. That's the thinking. And that's completely wrong, backwards. They need to know who they are running a body before that body dies, because then they take no fear with them and no negative nature out of their body, and they meet different beings in different scenarios then that help them unravel the rest of this tight knot. People are getting out of their bodies every night anyway, every single night. I'm going to sleep 8 hours, and suddenly I miraculously wake up, and they don't know what the heck happened in that period of time. Some people have a dream of flying in a body somewhere, levitating around. Maybe people are chasing them because they don't want them to do it, wherever they are. And it's really the universe's way of telling them that they aren't a physical body and they have the ability to fly. But a lot of people in the universe in the lower dimensions don't want them to do that because they're jealous, or they want to pull them down to their own level because they can't have it. And that's a problem, because when people bring back a memory of a dream, say, and they're on another world, and they know it's another world, it's not like Earth. Everything's different. It's similar, but it's different. And then people are chasing them. They always end up waking up back here. And the beings cannot follow them to this planet. They never stop to understand why that is. Even the most negative beings out there don't want to come here, because this is a very heavy electromagnetic field around this planet that is, how do I put it? The people that are on it are creating an atmosphere below the ionosphere that surrounds the planet that is constantly negative, and fear and doubt and anger and greed, uncontrollable lust for things, and just out of proportion everything. They don't realize that they are like little gods clothed in rags, spherical, misusing their imagination without realizing it to create opposites that oppose each other, good and bad, and it traps them here. So when they discover and wake up that the real way to use the imagination is not to deliberately pull back, putting any energy in anything of a negative nature, anything whatsoever about the present or the future of their life or the future of this planet. When they can do that, all their higher faculties begin to surface again. The things that were suppressed from fear begin to surface, because the higher faculties of the Atma, what people call soul, do not work with negative emotional states and imagination at all. The lower energies and the tyrants that live in the lower dimensions are happy to work with that. And if people open themselves to it, they're just inviting it in. It's very important not to learn this, discover this secret, not to deliberately remove your energy from imagining anything of a negative nature. No matter what the news says, no matter who says what, because they're all misdirected people misdirecting everybody else. And that has nothing to do with beings on other worlds and how they live. For the most part, it doesn't. People on Earth could be given the technology to travel among the stars, and even go to other galaxies, and be given to us for free, no charge whatsoever, if collectively we could show that we are capable of respecting all life in the grand multidimensional creation. People don't do that even on their own planet. How are they going to go out there? Going to take their little rocket ships with the baby steps of reverse anti-gravity technology and go out there and throw their fears and aberrations and terror, subconscious, on all those other beings? First strange thing they see, they fire missiles off at them. It's not going to work. It can't. The beings out there are far more advanced, and they're not going to put up with that. That's why this solar system we live in is quarantined by them. Not the tyrants, the good guys. Because people on Earth would destroy this world and destroy other worlds the way they are, going out into space. Corporate greed in space? Are you kidding? To me, it's hilarious that people would even think that these other races out there would put up with that for a second. They're not going to. If it weren't for them, we'd all be dead from nuclear war right now on this planet, because they prevented it. People on Earth didn't. They tried to do it, and it was stopped from outside this planet. Highly classified. They're going to have to tell people this one day. And in such a way that they get the assistance and a very, how would I put it, omnipresent kind of living energy that exists through creation working with them in order to make people feel, at least suspend or turn off their fear, their subconscious drives for a while, long enough for the Atma that's running these bodies on Earth to surface, to agree of free will, awakened free will, to help have these beings come here and help people make this great change, because we cannot do it on our own on this planet before we would destroy this place, make it unlivable. So we're going to need their help. And now think about this another way. Way back in galactic history, there's this planet. It's in an industrial age, and it gets nuclear weapons, or it gets to be kind of similar where we are. And countries don't get along. They're about to destroy themselves, and suddenly out of nowhere, along come these nice beings from somewhere else that begin to make their presence known to help people stop misusing their imagination, which is not made up in the brain. It's their ability to co-create with the source behind all life. That's what the imagination really is. And that is seeing and imagining that which will only be of an uplifting benefit to all life in the entire creation, not just life on Earth. That won't do it. So, when you share, or when I share deliberately suppressed or hidden truth in this way, I'm doing it telepathically to the white core of the being, like that little poster you have back there. I'm not talking to the bodies and brains of people on this planet. I'm talking to them. And there's a kind of a white golden light that connects between the core of our beings, that runs through the field of energy through all creation. And that has always been connected. People are completely unconscious about that now on Earth, but it's still there. So when I begin to work with people and go into this journey and start these hues, the hue is not owned by, patented by, copyrighted by, possessed by, or cannot be sold or anything like that on this Earth, because it did not get created here. It was not invented by any person on this planet. It didn't originate in the Milky Way galaxy. It didn't even originate in the lower dimensions. You cannot possess it. That'd be like trying to take your hand out and possess dark matter in space, grab blackness. It's impossible. We can co-create with that energy when we know how, and it will co-create with us. And that's our true purpose as beings, is to learn how to co-create with that properly, which is why we exist. And people on Earth haven't got a clue about why they exist. They just think it's God's will, and you do certain things, and then you die and go to heaven or something. Well, if that were true, then this world and all those people in heaven would have changed this place a long time ago. That hasn't changed. I'm sure there's many people that believe that this is their only life, and they go somewhere and they live in some eternity, somewhere picking flowers in a garden somewhere or something. As if the upper worlds and the responsible beings there could tolerate that nonsense for a day. In the upper worlds, there is no bodies. You don't get fatigued. You never get tired. 24 hours a day, you're on. You're busy co-creating new ways of doing things there with others. You don't have time to go out and be under the complete control of some dominant supreme being, picking flowers for it and worshiping it all day long. That would never work practically in the upper worlds. What people call heaven doesn't work like that. And it could never work like that. We are meant to awaken, to be co-creators with that source and be trusted with it. That's our purpose for existing, actually, truly, honestly. That's it. People on Earth don't realize the incredibly high destiny they really have, because they have been tortured in past existences and made to forget it by tyrants. When they go through a process where they can confront what was done to them that put them here, then that becomes nothing but a memory. And it doesn't affect their nervous system, subconsciously misdirect them anymore. They begin to be less afraid, more confident, and all these other things start to change in them. Doesn't mean they're perfect in a day or a week or a month. They still have their doubts and fears, but the fact is they're really literally changing in awareness and capability. And so they're motivated to do more of it. Because it's their nature, their true nature, to co-create wonderful new ways of doing things with the source, because that source they pray to does not know everything like they think it does. We collectively, as the souls, as Atmas, make up the supreme source. And it has a center, and you could speak with it, but it's not a soul like us. It's not a man on a throne. If you took all the beings like drops of pure water in a mighty ocean and put it in the whole ocean, you would have the supreme source collectively. Which means if what we are as the Atma is the type of energy that's not nuclear, cannot be destroyed by a hydrogen bomb or even altered, and yet it's the type of thing that supports and creates worlds and planets and galaxies, which is what we really are, from that source, then we were all there at the very beginning, before time and space was made. When beings begin to realize they have no age in comparison to time and space and matter, lots of things change for them. Any questions, or should we go on a journey?
Yeah, we can go on the journey, but very, very interesting today. I mean, every day, but today, get to the point.
When you or anybody nods and says they understand it, that they don't realize at the moment generally that their IQ has gone way beyond anything on earth. An IQ of 500 couldn't even fit this understanding into their brain. The Atma begins to recover, and then it goes into an intelligence capability far beyond any body or brain will ever have on any planet. It becomes more universal in its thinking and imagining. It becomes more free as a being to play among the stars and even go to other dimensions. And when people start to realize that, and we can start to do that again after billions of years of not remembering most of it, it really has the potential to change the entire lower dimensions and retire evil as an experiment and replace it with this new ray, this new energy that's in this consciousness from the source that realizes that's a failed experiment and is doing something to remove it, like the dinosaur, and replace it with something that actually works. When we work with the hue, there's a certain protection that goes along with it, and people experience that for themselves. I can't just tell them it's true. I'm not asking them to have faith in what I say to them. I'm asking them to go on these journeys and begin to recover it so they know for themselves, beyond faith, what hidden truth is when it awakens for themselves. Doesn't do me any good to be enlightened and free as a being and tell other people about it if they can't actually co-create the experience for themselves. My work is all about that. That's the reason I came to this planet. It's the only reason I came to this planet. Nobody in their right mind would consciously or free will come to this planet to live amongst its unconscious, misdirected people in terror, in a dangerous society, unless they were extremely highly trained, knew what they were doing, and worked with billions of other beings who know what they're doing, not on Earth, and from other dimensions and other realities, and master teachers, to even attempt to come to a place this backwards. It's dangerous. So you have to come here with a certain kind of momentum behind you for the benefit of the people on this planet. Truly, all of them. If you come here with fear, or you come here with any kind of debate or theory or speculation, those kinds of negative things, you wouldn't do any good coming here. Nobody would listen. They couldn't. They wouldn't even hear you. They'd be in defense of their belief system to the death, even if it kills the whole planet. And they don't realize that's what they're doing. Of course they don't. But they're capable of realizing it. So how about if we go on a little journey?
Okay, great.
To do this, I will use the first half of the word human. Remember this. If you value hidden truth at all and your own freedom as a being, as an Atma, as a soul, the hue does not belong to any corporation, religion, or anybody else. Others can put it out. That's perfectly fine. But if they try to possess it or own it, they are in trouble. Ultimately, they're in deep trouble because it cannot be possessed. It's like trying to grab the wind and say, I've got the wind. It just blows right on by you. Can't do it. It did not get originated on this planet. It was imported here from other worlds long ago and held in secret amongst different adepts in history here, most of whom the planet doesn't even know ever existed. And it was taught to certain people when tyrant kings would kill you if you even opened your mouth about it, which is the history people are taught in schools here. Tyrant cultures, Rome, Egypt, Mayan, Aztec, blood sacrifices, Egyptian, all tyrant cultures. Royal family bloodlines, murderous, thuggish people, dominating the rest of the race, getting them to worship or believe in something the kings could control. And that's it. That's our real history. For people to come into an understanding of how the hue works, the first sound, the first word behind all creation is not a written word in a book. It's out there. It's the whole thing supporting the whole thing. A human being has the ability to connect into that and get connected directly to the source itself. When that happens, the source kind of looks and says, oh, there's Joe and Bill and Mary. I haven't seen them in a few billion years. It's like beings in the universe who are awake begin to take notice of you and who you are. And they go, oh, that person thinks they're a rock. They've been sitting on the side of a road thinking they're a rock. Some tyrant got them to think that. We've been that way for 3 million years. Along comes this adept. And he says, hey, Joe, what are you doing? And Joe says, what do you mean what I'm doing? I'm a rock. Can't you see that? I'm a rock. He says, Joe, you're not a rock. You're an Atma. Let me show you. Boom. The spell is broken. The guy gets up from being a rock and walks down the road off into the distance with the adept. That's like what it is that has to happen for people on this planet. And there are a great many beings out there capable of wielding this kind of snapping people out of this illusion they're in. So they don't have to keep reincarnating here in lifetimes with no memory over and over again, which they've been doing. You can't destroy the Atma, the real being that runs bodies. You can destroy bodies all day long. The Atma, there's not a single Atma in creation that's ever been destroyed. It's not made of matter. It's quite impossible. But you can wake one up. I send out these hues at first. And I do this for your benefit in the physical body you have to help it go into the trance state called sleep that you put it in every night anyway. We're doing the same thing, except because I'm operating and using the vocal cords and working this energy a certain way. It helps you, the Atma, remain conscious while the body goes to sleep so you can go on this journey. And I will be describing and saying to you what we're seeing and what beings we're meeting. You're going to see it for yourself in your own way, and you're going to see other things that I don't even mention along the way. And this is you, the Atma, beginning to remember how to imagine what exists beyond Earth and what it's like to travel to other worlds, to other dimensions, because every night you do it anyway, but you don't know it. This begins the process of recovering direct knowing perception. Direct knowing perception is not thought. Direct knowing perception is not belief. Direct knowing perception is the white core of our being that is made of the same energy as the source itself. And it can know directly with that source anything or everything. If it doesn't have the confidence or belief system, or is afraid to do it, then of course that will block it. I ask people to be sitting down or lying down, being comfortable. Take several deep breaths. When you breathe it out, yawn, whatever, you're breathing out all fear of the present and the future. Just temporarily, every concern you have in life. When you'll die, how old you are, loved ones, everything. Just for now, they're fine. You put it aside. And then I ask people to send out this request. These words are formulated very carefully with the assistance of kind, advanced master teacher beings I work with who are not from this planet. The words are kind, certainly loving, but more importantly, they are respectful of all life. Divine love isn't what people think it is. Divine love is having respect for all life in the multidimensional universe. That is what it is, and we can co-create with that because it is a co-creator with us. The sooner people become aware of that, the better off they will be in unimaginable ways. I send out this myself, and I'm doing it now with all of you. My body is going into the trance state called sleep 2. I've been trained to know how to run it, sometimes open my eyes or use the mouth, even though the body is turned off in a sense, running on automatic. Because I go on these journeys with all of you. Here is what I send out. Safely show me deliberately hidden truth on a grand multidimensional scale, and the much greater knowing of the expansive love within it. If you look at those words carefully, you'll realize what I'm requesting this omnipresent living force, this people call divine spirit, to co-create with me. And it will reply, it will respond. There's nothing of any negative nature anywhere in those words or in the communication I'm sending into that energy. Nothing whatsoever. There's a new ray of energy or awareness running through the omnipresent field of force that supports all life throughout all the dimensions that was not there before, about 8.5 Earth years ago, even up in the upper worlds. And it is designed to work in only one way, not dualistic, not good and bad, up and down. It moves through the lower dimensions, awakening the Atma, not the body, to co-create with it, to change the way the lower dimensions are run, from destructive and good and bad and life and death into something else that has never existed before in the way the lower dimensions work. We are on the crux of a great change, on the threshold of a great change in eternity. The sooner we become aware of it, the better off we're going to be as beings on every level of existence. When I send out the hue, I do it in higher successive tones in order to address the existences you're running in other dimensions you probably do not remember you have. To get those forms going into the trance state, so the Atma, the spherical being, like a sun, round, you, the true human or human, can go on a journey as a non-material being, a non-nuclear being, and travel out in space, out to other worlds, and up into other realities, vastly beyond any speed of light. That's only 286,000 miles per second. That's just limited to physical light that people see through physical eyes. Tiny fraction of the spectrum of energy that's out there. The tones are being done with the cooperation of Ambassador Turellian, who is a human from another world. He's an ambassador of the Seres race. And they immortalized their physical bodies over 1 billion years ago. They didn't make them live 36 years old for all that time. They dematerialized them and stored them within a little teardrop within the sphere of their being. And they work co-creatively with this omnipresent energy to manifest a full solid body in an instant to carry out a mission, and then they dissolve it because it's cumbersome and unnecessary to carry that thing around. First thing before we begin, we are not now, nor have we ever been, a physical body. We are a type of energy that is not material. In other words, it's not made of atoms and neutrons and electrons and that kind of thing. It is energy. People on Earth have been made to forget that a very long time ago. So it's time to begin recovering awareness of this. I'll begin those tones now. The body goes into the trance state normally and easily. You do it every night without thinking of it being an effort. The difference is there's this voice, there's something to focus upon that assist you to remain aware while the body goes into this trance state. It's energizing, it's healing to the body. It allows other energies to come into the form, the frame, the body, that normally can't do it very easily. You do it every night to recharge the body, you think. But where are you when the body's being recharged? Because you're not in it. The reason the body is unaware and has no consciousness when it's asleep is because you're not there. The pineal gland will secrete serotonin, make melatonin, put the body in automatic, and run the heart and the lungs and the blood circulation while you're gone. There is a white golden light connecting the core of your being that's spherical to the pineal gland in the center of the brain. It cannot be broken. It is not a material core. It is not astral or causal or mental or etheric. It cannot be broken with a hydrogen bomb or a beam weapon or anything else. It is not of a material nature. It's not nuclear. And you can run that body as you do every night and be gone out in the other worlds. On other normal worlds, people go out at night in their bodies conscious and come back conscious, knowing they're not a body, and then they pick it up, wake it up, and run it around and do things on that planet. The big advantage of doing this is that the fear of death is gone forever, permanently, because it's not the body, the atma that dies. The body can cease, be killed, run over by a herd of turtles, or sat on by an elephant, so to speak, and you're out of your body. But you cannot destroy an atma or harm it in any way. You can convince it to forget, which has been done to the people of Earth. And everyone knows it. If something was done they can't quite put a finger on, they don't know how to wake it up. It's very frustrating. They know they used to know a lot more than they know now about almost everything. Imagine being at a beach. Remember, your eyes are closed if you're doing this properly for your own benefit. The brain and the eyes are not working as far as seeing anything. They are off. And you are a being who's aware of my voice, which is a telepathic communication between the white core of my being and yours, Torellian and many other beings who are going on this journey with us, who are waiting for us. There is no negative nature whatsoever in the hue, in the new ray in it. So you can't take anything of a negative nature with you. So we leave it off with the body. All fear of the present, the future, set aside just for now. And yes, you have the ability to do this as easily as you imagine eating a hot dog or going to the beach or being in the mountains, or when you're bored somewhere, sitting behind a desk and you drift off. It's not the brain that sees that other reality. Your eyes could be looking out the parking lot at cars and trees while you're seeing being at the beach. If your eyes are open, the brain is seeing what's in the parking lot, but it doesn't see what you're imagining. You need to know the difference, because you're not taught this on Earth growing up, how important this is. Look at creation in this way. Worlds and moons and suns and stars are round. They were made in the image of those who created them. Or you'd have human bodies floating around in space, orbiting each other like planets. Human forms like this in its genetic structure and others from other worlds, human, humanoid, and many other types of beings, have developed higher nervous systems through which the Atma can run higher faculties through a body form to sense the environment and material plane that body is on. It is the Atma that does this through the body. Imagine being above your body near the ceiling, wherever you live. Don't imagine yourself like an astral body that's transparent, looks like you, because we're not going to the astral plane. Imagine you are a sphere, an orb of light, the white core, a layer of teardrop-shaped, self-effulgent lights in it, into a yellow area after the white, then an orange, then a red, then a green, then a blue, then a lavender, and a violet, and a golden energy field around it emanating from the white core itself. This is the structure of the Atma, or Atman. And that word did not get created, invented in India. It didn't come from this planet. Neither did the word human. This is something you need to be aware of. They did not originate on this world. You're up above the ceiling as a sphere. Think of yourself like a sun, radiant, with different layers around you through the spectrum of light. And you're looking down at this body, asleep in the trance state, being kind, looking kindly at it. And you recognize that you are something that's running that body from a distance above it. Then find yourself hovering in the air, in the atmosphere over where you live at about 5,000 feet. And you're not alone. You can find myself there and Pari. You can find kind men and women who are manifesting physical looking forms, standing in the atmosphere out in front of the sphere they really are. So you have a way of identifying not only how they're kind, that they are very wise. They look to be about 36 years old, but ancient. And these are people from other worlds that have gone out of their bodies aboard a ship somewhere, usually stationed in our solar system or somewhere on the atmosphere of Earth, in a technological state called shifted out of phase. It just means the molecular time rate, the molecules that make up their ship, are vibrating a little higher, so you can't see or detect them unless they want you to. And there are 4 couples on these ships, about 30 foot across, and a masculine and feminine being is sitting in the back of the ship. They're in the trance state called sleep, just like us, and they've left those forms to join us out of body, because they can be very helpful to all of you to recover who you are. They are very well trained and they know how to do this safely. You will feel no fear or any threatened nature at all during this experience, because it is not in it. Then see yourself hovering in space above planet Earth, just like the space shuttle. You are a spherical energy not made of matter. And there are many other beings hovering around a being in the center. In space, you don't feel heat, you don't feel cold. Radiation from the sun cannot affect you. And yet you can see everywhere around you in 360 degrees in any direction. And when you look at what you think is a black void of space between the Earth with its polar ice caps, you can see below you, and the moon with its craters and no atmosphere that does not turn on its axis, and the sun in the distance. And you look at all the billions of stars around you and you realize that there is a white golden field of light everywhere between the Earth, the moon, the sun, the stars, and other galaxies that is not black, because you're not seeing it with the limitations of physical human eyes now. You're seeing it with the white core of the Atma, which you would call the inner or third eye. It's not part of the physical body at all. And you can hear a sound coming from this white field of light you see everywhere. It is not materialistic or atomic, and you can see all the suns, which are clearly visible in all of that out there in the universe, like you'd see in a NASA shot from the space shuttle, the Hubble telescope, except it's not a black void supporting it at all. Scientists on Earth know it's not black, really. They call it dark matter because it appears black to human eyes, but it is packed full of energy. And it's an energy that does not respond to the laws of physics as people understood it on Earth. And it is between and supporting everything that exists, floats in it. You can see the polar ice caps of Earth with the continents you're familiar with and the oceans. And from up here, you can't see any fences or walls between countries. You can't even see cities. It's just land masses in the ocean, polar ice caps, and one planet. And a moon with nothing on it but a bunch of meteor crater marks. When you look around you, you can see there is a being, beautiful Atma, hovering in the center. And I'm kind of hovering beside him. There are several other beings around that. And then there's all of you on this journey around us in a circle. This serves as a focal point to keep your awareness focused on something constructive and uplifting. So you don't go wild off and just get lost in exploring a bunch of nonsense in the grand multi-universe without knowing what you're doing. So here we are hovering in the orbit of a ship above Earth, looking at it. Then you're going to see a being begin to manifest, a body 18 feet tall, much taller than the rest of us. Glittering golden light that just forms into a body comes from the white core of a being. That's Ambassador Torellian. And he is of the Say-raised race, human race, very ancient. The body you're seeing is the body he had before it was immortalized. He's showing it to you. Standing in space, doesn't need to breathe oxygen. Long blonde hair, big blue eyes, bigger than that of a human. Like a Greek god, white gown. He's just giving you 2 thumbs up, encouragement. It's actually doing an energetic thing with you to give you stability and encouragement to go forward courageously, to explore and awaken who you are. And you can see him point to the earth, and then you see it change right in front of you. The world changes. It's the same earth in the same place, but at a higher frequency. And now you see an earth with no polar ice caps, beautiful oceans, the big continent centered over the equator, from the left to the right hemisphere, half the planet. And it curves up about a third of the way below the North Pole, comes to the right hemisphere, and comes down to about a third of the way above the southern pole. You can see through this earth, and you can see another continent 2/3 its size, centered over the equator on the opposite side of the planet. And you look over and see the moon and discover that it's not the barren moon you're familiar with. It has a full oxygen atmosphere, 5 domed cities, over 3 golden-sided, 4-sided quartz-capped pyramids, people inside and people walking out in these beautiful landscape gardens, waterfalls. And as the moon's turning on its axis, because this one does turn on its axis, you can see 2 large dome cities in a high mountainous area on the backside of the moon. And this is moving around the Earth. It has a field of gravity around it. And it's a little planet. It's a moon that circles Earth, but it's full of life. You are looking at a continent on that planet called Lemuria, or Moon. On the backside is a continent called Atla, or Atlantis. This is in an Earth and a Moon in a 3rd higher parallel dimension, higher molecular time rate of matter that exists right now, that never flipped its poles like it did on the Earth you're familiar with, every 100,000 years like clockwork. And you look down at that continent, down near the point of that middle of the equator, down about a third of the way above the South Pole, you see a crescent-shaped emerald green beach glowing, and you can see it luminous even from space. And it's very attractive because it's a very healing, transformative energy. In the world you come from and you're familiar with, the poles flip over every 100,000 years, destroying all life, and it has to be recolonized. There are beings in the universe called silent mentors who run the mechanics of creation, and they recently put an end to the polar flips of planet Earth for all time. No more golden age to iron age and that nonsense anymore. So people have the opportunity to recover, and this world can change. You can see that continent down there, and you can see Turelian, the Atma hovering behind the physical form he's showing you. And you look and find that you have a body here, hovering in front of the sphere you are. Looks just like you. About 36, perfectly, vibrantly healthy. It isn't physical matter. It is a projection of a physical form from the sphere you are. Both are you. And you're looking where Turelian's pointing, and you can see that emerald green beach. And then he begins to move in that direction. His physical form dissolves. It's just the sphere. Your sphere's moving around him, just kind of in position. And we go down into the atmosphere, and in a moment you find yourself hovering above a several mile curved, half-moon shaped green beach that's glowing about a foot above the sand. And you look down and you find that you have bare feet sinking comfortably down into this emerald green glowing sand. And you pick it up in your hand, and you can see that it's made of little polished emerald, pure crystals, polished round, that makes up the sand of this beach, and they're luminous. And it feels good in your hand. And you can feel this energy move up your legs. It's soothing and cooling and warm at the same time. It moves up your entire body, which looks like you, up to the top of your head. You look up smiling, and you find that you are a sphere with a structure, a white core, looking down on you, looking up at yourself. And then you look down from the white core of your being and see that body smiling up at you. The real you is this sphere, your real nature. And the green energy moves up the top of your head, up a beam of light into the white core of your being, and gets moved out into the green layer, the part of the layers that make up what you are as an individual Atma or soul. And it's turning on certain teardrops in that layer. And each little luminous teardrop is a higher faculty of knowing, recall, and remembering, because this green energy is about that. When you look out in the ocean, you can see Turelian, 18-foot tall human male body, standing out in the ocean with the water up to his knees, just smiling. He's a man of few words. He's a being of action. And he's given us 2 thumbs up. The type of energy, encouragement, stability, no fear, no negative nature whatsoever. And you look inland, and where this curved beach meets, there's a brown moss-covered path that goes straight back several miles. And you can see way beyond the jungle through violet grasslands, some blue-green forestries. There's a single snow-capped mountain just off to the right. And off to the left in the lower plateau of the mountain is a huge dome, clear, covering a city. 3 golden 4-sided quartz-capped pyramids, a lake in the middle, little white marble roadways running off in different directions, a semi-spherical mountain range, small mountain range in the background, with little waterfalls and rivers running from it for the aesthetic beauty of the people who work here. And you can see little ivory-colored domed home dwellings out in the countryside, lots of space. This is not an overpopulated facility. And you can see the mountain, 2/3 of the way up towards this snow-covered, extinct volcanic mountain, is a cavern opening out of which is roaring a beautiful blue-green luminous water, dropping thousands of feet down a sheer cliff face to disappear into the blue-green forest, runs behind the dome city and forms a river that makes its way to the ocean. Above that cavern opening where the waterfall is another tunnel, oval-shaped, and has little semi-spheric round dome lights going back into the interior. You can see that from the beach, because you're an Atma hovering above the beach looking at it over the top of these tall jungle trees. You can see the brown moss-covered path. You can see a white marble floor about a mile inland or so, maybe a little more. about 100 feet across, and there's a statue, a crystal statue made of quartz of a woman. And you're going to find yourself suddenly hovering around this statue. And Terrellian's hovering above it. And I'm up there with him, and we're pointing to this statue, and you see that this woman, this polished quartz statue is made of pure quartz. She has big angel-like wings coming out behind her, but they aren't of an angelic order. They represent the ability of the Atma to fly free from physical form anywhere. The statue is of a woman, and you can see right inside the surface of the quartz around her forehead, she has longer fingers and longer toes and legs than we have on Earth. She's 10 feet tall. Beautiful violet eyes, slightly pointed ears, long silver hair. You can see it on the inside of the quartz as if she's standing behind it. And you can reach in with your imagination and you can feel this hair, which looks like silver metal, but it's soft. She's wearing a gold band around her forehead and an emerald cut, teardrop shape, emerald faceted jewel set in it. And when you look into that stone from anywhere around it as a being, you can see this woman standing 10 feet tall in some kind of a huge green energy field, nothing under her feet. As you look into the stone, you realize this is an interdimensional portal, a device. And it leads into a way station area in an energy. And you find yourself hovering in a huge soccer stadium-side arena of green light. And she's standing there hovering, smiling at you. And she has her hands up. And there's green energy around it, glow. And you can see that her hands are up in the statue outside through it, and it's glowing. And you can see the beach, and you know that this hands of this being are charging that sand, which is a gift from a race of beings, her and her mate, that live on a world on the other side of the Milky Way galaxy. They did not originate in our galaxy, but they have been there for millions of years. They are human, much taller than people on Earth. They have violet eyes and silver-like hair. They are from a race called Zeontranamus, from a planet 4 times bigger than Earth, called Zeontranomon 1. It has 3 Earth-sized planets or moons at different distances revolving around it, all of which have no polar ice caps. And you can see it floating in the atmosphere. She's pointing to it to show you her world. And then you see a male appear beside her, a little taller, silver hair, violet eyes, and he's pointing to the worlds too. And you can see that there are 3 suns that these worlds revolve around. One is a blue giant, one is yellow like our sun, and one is a red dwarf at a further distance. It's a trinary system. We can go visit that world in an instant from this green energy. You find yourself suddenly walking along a violet, sandy kind of a path that winds around like a snake along a sleepy, flowing, luminous, blue-green kind of river. Down in a valley, and off in the distance are these plateaus that look like the red plateaus in Sedona, Arizona in the States, and a big dome city in the distance, covering pyramids like we've seen. And as you're walking down the path in your young body, the sphere that you are hovering above it, you see 2 beings, stately and elegant, dignified, walking casually towards you. They're taller than we are. And it's this man and this woman in their physical forms they actually have on this planet. And they greet you with their right hand held up, just like that. And then they begin to talk with you telepathically to tell you about this world. They tell you the bodies you're seeing. You see 2 atmospheres hovering above them. The bodies are more than 3.5 million years old, unaged. This is a different type of immortalization because these beings are masters of genetic science, literally. Then you find yourself hovering in the green atmosphere, the two of them standing there inside this quartz crystal statue, this interdimensional doorway. And they tell you that you may come back here and learn from them, if you wish, about how to change DNA, genomes that are turned off and turn them on. And at the right time and in the right way, they will help you to achieve this. This is just about physical bodies now. It's the Atma hovering above your body there that's important, and they are speaking to you. Then you find yourself hovering above in the atmosphere, above this white marble floor. There's this crystal statue of a woman and Turelian, and you see this couple hovering in Atmas near Turelian above the statue, showing you who they are. They're like us, they're Atmas. When you look up, and Turelian will point to that mountain, that snow-capped mountain, you see the cavern opening that goes into the lighted tunnel. That will go through what is called an interdimensional transit area, through an energy vibrational phase that will change the molecules of anything leaving this place slower so that they come out in the interior of Mount Shasta in Northern California, which is hollowed out, put there and made by an extraterrestrial human race, part of the Galactic Alliance, in 1908. They can move between the reality you know of as Earth and this Earth that has no polar ice caps, simply in a higher molecular time rate through this doorway, designed and connected directly to link the two together. Find yourself suddenly in space above Earth, looking down on that Lemurian continent with no polar ice caps on that planet, an Earth with a full oxygen atmosphere and clouds and all that, turning on its axis. The emerald green beach you can see glowing from space still, and there's Turelian and myself, and a teacher named Master Ramu carrying a 6-foot-tall quartz crystal staff that has a cross with an oval, elongated oval hole with a hole in it, which is an Ankh, it comes from ancient Egypt, but before that, off-world, which stands for eternal life. And he holds this, even in space, in a form you will see. It's his symbol. It's how people recognize him. That staff is a device. When you look over to the right, you can see a being hovering in front of another Atma who has pale blue skin like Krishna, not quite that vivid blue. Long black, silken black hair, slightly pointed ears, about 6 feet tall, emerald green eyes, smooth skin, and he can hold his hands and you'll see little webs between them here, just little ones. And he lifts his neck and you can see 3 little slits on each side. These are human beings from a planet called Oceania that's on the other side of the Milky Way galaxy, mostly water covered, and they evolved with the ability to breathe on land or underwater. He's showing you his physical form that he has on that planet, but he's actually the Atma hovering above that form. And he's a master teacher, as is Ramu. We're going to introduce you, again, we've done this before, to a creature named, called a Dren. And this is Etta, and he's in the Emerald Doorway book. And he's a very dear friend of mine. He's about 3 feet long from his cute snout to the tip of his tail, has strong upper arms and hind legs, and individual fingers and toes like a human. Big bulbous blue eyes. When his mouth is closed, the crease of his long snout makes him look like he's amused about something. He's courageous to a fault, silica-based, not carbon-based like we are. They do not age in the way humans do. And they evolved on that world long ago in galactic history with the ability to defy gravity and fly through the air as an organic being. His tail, or you can see, is glowing from the root to its tip like crystal oval in bright sunlight. And he is also a master teacher, but he's not human. And above this form he's showing you, flying in the air, is the Atma, like you and I. An Atma that is fully awake will be a little brighter than us, and Turelian a little larger. Turelian is very ancient in this wisdom. When they had physical bodies, they had 8-stranded DNA, not 2 like us. We get our DNA for human beings that are on Earth, originally from them. They were probably the highest genetic scientists, evolved spiritual beings you could imagine, long ago, and helped seed life in the physical galaxies, and then vanished. They brought many races up into a higher genetic form so the Atmas could run them and manifest higher faculties through them on many world systems. The nature of tyrant beings happened long after they departed. They've returned recently to help set things straight because they're part of the ongoing movement to retire evil as an experiment, replace it with the new ray and the hue, which motivates all beings to create only that which is of lifting benefit to all life. And to do that, you have to respect and know all the life that exists in the grand multidimensional creation. A human brain and body cannot do this. The Atma running a body on Earth or in the other planes can, and has the capability to understand and know the source behind all life and co-create with it. Here you are again floating in space, looking down on the continent of Lemuria, in an Earth world that never flipped its poles. A hair's breadth away, you walk around on Earth not knowing it's within a touch away from your fingers right around you, just at a slighter higher frequency. That Earth and the Moon alive will be used as a prototype to transform the Earth and Moon you know now. It's not destined to stay the way it is. When you look up, you see a vortex that looks like blue-green water begin to appear and swirl clockwise in the atmosphere of space. And you can see a doorway, a tunnel being created straight upward. And far at the other end, you can see a blue, luminous atmosphere. And Turelian and myself and several master teachers are simply going to take us on a little journey right up into that tunnel. You just get sucked up into it, perfectly peaceful. And we're moving much faster than the speed of light, straight up this vortex, which has been created to connect to the physical universe above this parallel dimension of Earth, all the way up to what's called the U Expansion Ray Academy, which is beyond the void known to certain esoteric groups on Earth. It is beyond the astral, causal, mental, and etheric planes, and beyond the first realm of the higher worlds, between the fifth and sixth realities. A special place was created to administer and to assist beings to begin to co-create, changing things as it is in the upper worlds, and changing things in lower dimensions of time and space, so things actually work correctly for the first time. And you can see universes and galaxies on levels fading below you right through the transparent nature of this tunnel of light, until you suddenly come out the other end, hovering high in a blue luminous atmosphere, and you see this tunnel vanish below you. And in its place, you see 6 snow-covered mountain peaks in a hexagon. And when you look out from high above these peaks, you can see a huge landmass, completely circular, with a white luminous beach completely surrounding it, tropical areas near the beach, and then different grasslands and beautifully horticultural landscape terrain. And then you can see down at the base of the western, toward the west, one of these mountains, is a white marble floor about 100 feet across, and there is a blue glass transparent tower coming up out of it. It goes up pretty high, and then there's a flattened sphere, which is transparent, and goes up to a point. This is an administration area. And you can see that at the base of this white marble-like floor that surrounds it are these white roadways that go out in every direction like the spokes from a bicycle tire. Everywhere, all the way to the sandy beach. And when you look at the beach, you can see the entire atmosphere supporting this place is a blue, luminous nature. And you can breathe it in. It feels like it moves right through you and then back through you. And you are a sphere hovering there. And you can see a physical form manifest that looks like you. It looks physical, but it's energy. And when you look at this blue light that's around you, that's self-luminous, you can see there's a white golden essence behind it, propping up this blue energy. The blue energy is part of the new ray, and it's in the pure essence, it's a white golden light. The golden part of it is the new ray, the new intelligence, the new way of doing things that's blended here. You are in a place where no negative nature exists whatsoever. It is absolutely impossible for you to bring any negative nature, feeling, or imagination across the void into this realm. It will not go across that void. That's why the void is there. The void is a very vast area with a pale blue light that seems to have nothing in it. It is a barrier between the upper planes of existence and the lower dimensions of time and space. There is a great deal above it. We are in one of those planes now. You can see the white roadway that goes out to the western coast. You can see roads that continue from the other side of this white marble floor right through tunnels, all the way through these 6 mountain peaks. And you look down inside the mountain, you see it's hollowed out inside the center of this landmass. And there's a white golden shaft of light roaring up and down the center of it. And on the other side, you can see cavern openings, little cylindrical openings that continue out to white roadways that go all the way to the beach on the other side of the mountains. And you can look down and see that there's something down in between the base of all 6 mountains. And it seems to be a white kind of a marble floor on an island. And there's a crystal blue, cobalt blue sphere about 4 feet wide, transparent, luminous, hovering above a rectangular blue lapis lazuli type stone. That's a blue stone with gold lace through it. And you can see that this shaft of white light roaring through the center of the mountains is coming up into this stone on this island. And it's actually emanating from this blue cobalt blue stone, creating this blue energy field and the field that supports this entire creation. There are no stars, no moons, no planets here in the upper worlds, like there are in the worlds of time and space. The plant, the land, the gardens, the roadways, the tower are all self-luminous. They illuminate this place. As you're hovering in this blue atmosphere, you realize that it's beginning to make you remember what you really are. A spherical shaped energy people on earth call soul, but don't know what it looks like or what it does. This is the real you. It's comprised of an energy that comes from a much higher dimension beyond this you expansion ray academy. The source, prime creator. We are comprised of exactly the same energy on a smaller scale, and we are meant to be trustworthy co-creators with it. This is our purpose. We go into the lower worlds and all these weird lives and forget and get trapped and all kinds of stuff. But eventually your destiny is to recover and return to this place or higher. Because the U Expansion Ray Academy is where beings now gather from all over the multiverse, including the mechanics of creation, silent mentors who work here, in order to create the ways that unravel the tight knot of the lower dimensions and retire the experiment of evil, like the dinosaur, with an energy field that we co-create with, which inspires us to only imagine that which will be of an uplifting benefit to all life. To do this properly, we have to be aware of the vast nature of life that exists both in the upper worlds as the Atma and in the lower worlds on different planets and different planes. You, the Atma, are capable of knowing this. And you have to educate your human body and personality that never got any of this growing up. And you do this in a way gradually with the help of many others who are quite adept at it. You're going to see hundreds of beings appear around us in this blue atmosphere. Men and women's bodies standing in front of these beautiful spheres in two levels of spheres of beings around us. And these are beings that come from the Galactic Alliance near the central core of the Milky Way galaxy. And they are master teachers. And they are there simply to introduce themselves. They are also here on this journey with us because they were invited. And they are discovering the nature of the upper worlds above the void for the first time. Even as advanced as they are, down in the worlds crossing stars and galaxies. And they are becoming aware of this U expansion ray. They are there to assist you when you're out of your body at night back on Earth. They're very kind, very uplifting. There's no fear, no negative energy. And some of them, you're going to find, each one of you on this journey, that they seem awfully familiar to you. Like you used to know each other and lost contact with each other a long time ago. They were not born on Earth. They do not have subconscious minds. They do not work with negative emotions. They can assist you, but you must request it of them. They are not tyrants. To get grounded in this energy, look out to the western roadway that runs straight as an arrow, and you'll see there are little white roadways to the left and the right, all the way down, and there are clearings to the left and the right in the jungle and the trees. There are different types of crystalline buildings and domes and spheres in them. These are teaching facilities. There's someone that needs to introduce himself to you here, which we rarely have contact with. And this is the top silent one. These are the mechanics of creation that maintain their beings, type of Atma, different than we are in certain ways. And they maintain the structure of galaxies and planets and doorways between dimensions and all the levels in the void. And he's walking up to you in a white kind of a gown, in bare feet, with blonde hair. And when you can see him approaching in the blue atmosphere, but when you look at his face, you can't see any features. It's like millions of galaxies spinning on different levels around where the face should be, because they think this way. And he's simply putting his hand up in greeting, and then he vanishes. There are billions of these beings. They're beginning to work, and they have a facility here in the U Expansionary Academy to work with and teach others, even master teachers, how to work with them. And the master teachers are instructing them how to work with us for the first time. You see the white sandy beach way out at the edge of the circular landmass floating in this blue void? Find your bare feet suddenly looking down. You're seeing your feet sink into this glowing, luminous white sand. The energy is one of familiarity. It's a white core energy of the nature of the center of your own being that originated with the source, beyond time and space, beyond several 100 billion years ago. It's long been forgotten, and you begin to understand the nature of this particular Hue Expansion Ray Academy. And the energy moves up your legs, your torso, out the top of your smiling face, and into the white core of your being, and lights it up a little brighter. Then your body dissolves, and you are the sphere hovering above this blue ocean, gently crashing against a shore, but it's not water. And you look above the mountain peaks, 6 of them, and we're all hovering around Terrellium together again. 2 spheres of beings from the Galactic Alliance and Master Teachers, and then they vanish. They're returning to the lower worlds, And they will carry forward telepathically this experience to hundreds of billions of fellow beings. It's not practical to have hundreds of billions of beings show up in this U Expansionary Academy at one time. They won't just be telling them of the experience. They will telepathically be providing the experience to their fellows to speed things up. And you see yourself looking down on that cobalt blue sphere down by that island at the base, and it has a blue-green lake around it, luminous, and these 6 mountain peaks. And we're going to go down and hover in front of that 4-foot wide cobalt blue sphere, transparent. You can see a little radiant blue star in the center of it. And suddenly you're inside this blue radiant star. You can see it around us like a field of energy. And you look down and you can see this blue-green vortex shaft of light connecting all the way down to space above Earth. No polar ice caps, a live moon. And you can see us all hovering there as Atlas while we're hovering in the U Expansionary Academy at the same time. And then the next moment you're down hovering around Torellian in space looking at that Earth. Remember the green beach? You can see the snow-capped mountain and the waterfall cascading out of it in the dome city on a higher level. And then you see the Earth change to the world you're familiar with polar ice caps and a barren moon that does not turn on its axis. And then you are a sphere of light, sphere, hovering above your body on Earth, smiling kindly down on that sleeping form. And you're going to send a little green energy down from the core of your being and a little white energy from the U Expansionary Academy into the pineal gland, into the brain, out through your skull, through your body, and off in a flow like a river, out into the planet Earth to be of benefit to your fellow beings. You don't have to monitor or control this energy. It knows what it's doing with your fellows and when and how to wake them up. It will work with them when they're out of their bodies at night, just like it works with you. When you're ready, open your eyes.
Today we have a chance to meet with the silent ones, the top silent one.
Yeah, very brief, because their energy is very powerful. They don't mix it up with us too much until we're ready, because it would just fry us. They're, they hold galaxies together and stuff like that, supernovas, and So to them, it's no big deal, but to us, it's like unbelievable. How can they do that? Well, they do. So I want to leave your listeners and you.
Yeah, Scott, before you leave, talk about your website and the link. Yeah.
Paralleltime.com. It'll be up on this YouTube video when Pari posts it. It'll show 4 websites, and it'll show Reuters is like Forbes. It's a news agency, and I have an article published there about my work. There's a link there. And also a YouTube video about 1 minute, 20 seconds with a wonderful woman, Jessica, narrating it. Very moving, that you can watch. That's linked right at the bottom of the article. So it'll be there for you to go review it. And then these 2 books are published on Earth. The Saber's Agenda. This is a mile-long galactic emerald star cruiser, cylindrical based, a control room in the front, one on the opposite side, identical, over a mile long. It is, for now, permanently stationed in the ice rings that make up the rings of planet Saturn in our solar system. These are galactic scout craft with 3 semispheric pods, little luminous blue anti-gravitic light around them, and they're entering the center section of this ship by changing their molecular timeline, passing right through the hull. There's no open doorways on this vessel. It's designed to go through interdimensional doorways across vast distances of space, even to other galaxies. And the beings on it are well trained, men and women, human, humanoid, and others, who are stationed here to keep us from destroying ourselves, because if we did that, it would harm life in parallel dimensions and out there that we don't even know exist, most people. And we don't have the right to do that, even unconsciously. So they and the beings in the Mount Shasta base in Northern California is in a slightly higher frequencies of time rate of matter. There's no force on earth that can go in there, military, or do anything with them. Nothing. They were stationed there in 1908 and were responsible in part for keeping us from annihilating ourselves with nuclear war during the former struggle, during the Cold War with the Soviet Union. So if we were really alone in the universe, we'd all be dead now anyway. They not wish to govern our planet or take it over. They want people to recover who they are so they'll govern it properly and be invited to join out there among the stars. This is about what recently changed in extraterrestrials beyond Earth that motivated them to start to look at Earth and change things here, to assist us to make change. The Emerald Doorway is book one of the Parallel Time trilogy, and as you can see, this master teacher is showing these three. This is Melina, blue skin on an antigravitic disk hovering in space above newly formed landmasses after the poles changed on Earth overnight, destroying Lemuria, most of Atlantis, all but a volcanic island. That's another story. And it's come down from an interdimensional doorway between the fifth level, which is just above the void known to esoteric groups on Earth. This is Kalim's ship, Galactic Scout. They've come out of it and are hovering on these discs. This is Master Ramu. He has a quartz crystal staff with an Ankh symbol on top, and he's contacted this to show these three. This is Etta, that I mentioned. And what these beings don't realize right now at this point, this was 100,000 years ago. This is the Ancient One. This is Prime Creator, the Source. What it looks like is comprised of many of these. It looks like a galaxy of white light, and each single atom comprises this source energy, the ocean of light and sound. What these beings don't realize right now at this point in this book is that they have one of these hovering above their head. They don't know that yet. Now, this is the first book of the Parallel Time trilogy. They're available at the websites, not to buy there because I don't have a shopping cart there, but the links to the proper retailers like Barnes & Noble or Amazon or iTunes or for an ebook or paperback are all there. So you don't have to hunt for them. You just click them on, it goes right to the right place. And they're available and sold around the world so people have a way to connect with this energy. Which is the only reason I published them. Because if I didn't, no one would be able to get any source material about this work. So, and because I have to work with retailers this way so they can print on demand and get it off to people everywhere in the world, it had to be done that way. So that's part of my work, and Pari will get this loaded up to her YouTube channel, and I recommend that people review this and other shows when they can be undisturbed for an hour or two somewhere, put on some headphones when they're awake and alert and calm, and then go on the journey again, because they'll get a lot more out of it second time.
And they can watch many times, even one video, keep watching, learning.
Thank you, Pari, for having the courage, personal beingness, to co-create these little shows with me.
You're welcome.
On your show and your channel. And I would wish you wonderful dreams, pleasant journeys tonight when you put your body to sleep, and the same for everybody else that's gone on this journey with us tonight.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Next time.